All right, so I apologize. We wanted to split the video, so we're going to start back up. How many bees are in a hive? I've been asked that too many
Many
times now.
times. So in our hives, I notice when you purchase a nuke, they will usually have between 6 to 10,000 bees. Um, there have been instances where you can have 20,000, but in a typical 5 frame nuke box, you'll start out with 10,000 bees. Within a few months, and hopefully by the time you have 2 deep boxes and maybe a honey super, those are the difference. The big boxes are the living quarters and the working quarters, and then the honey supers where they store for the fall and winter. You should have about 60 to 70,000 bees
Wow.
in a box or a hive that size. That's pushing the limit. Once they get about to 70, 80,000, they're going to want to split.
That's what I just saw that in the video today, that they end up splitting when they hit too many.
Yep, and you can stack. You can add more you can add more deeps, or you can add more supers. But the whole gist of the matter is, I don't like to do that too much. I may do 2 big boxes and 2 honey supers because that's my comfort level. If it has to go above that, I just split and make a new hive. I've seen hives that go 6, 7, 8 deep.
Yeah.
But those are folks with a lot of time on their hands and a lot of shuffling, making sure those bees are happy. So I just do what I can. And what's comfortable for me, 2 deep boxes, maybe 2 supers. Okay. After that, I split. And, you can order another set of bees with a queen that comes in it, or one that's going to be accepted to it. Or, like we do, if we've got those extra parts laying around, I swap out a couple frames of brood, take the queen out of that big one hive that I've got, and swap her over to the small one. So all of a sudden, what female's left with her on those brood hatches are going to decide to stay.
Right.
And they're going to start back over building, and they're going to build queen areas, and that's the supercells. You'll start seeing those form, and they're naughty. They're like, when you get used to going in your hive, instead of the frames going all the way down, you'll have these knots, and they look like hexagon shaped things, but you'll be able to see them. They form, and then you can see the white larva. It's quite large in there. Those are going to be the big ones that can tell you, well, we're about to split. And from there, you can just move them over. That's what you do naturally. If you've got 2 areas, you got one that's filling up, take the queen out and put her in the small one with a few small frames of bees, and then cross your fingers, because that other one, they're going to naturally know she left us.
So they need to create a new one.
And it's fascinating how that happens too, because it's very simple to go and buy a queen. Right. It can cost you money, and you have to.
And they might not accept her.
Exactly. So if you don't accept her, there's odds better that one of the 2 or 3 or 4 that are born in the hive after the other queen leaves will make it. Right. So she has to fly away for up to about 3 days and be mated multiple times. Maybe drones from the same colony or another colony, but then she has to fly back. So right. Think about all the stuff that can happen in the modern day world, urban bees especially. Yeah. Cars, animals, dehydration, chemicals around. Yeah. It's a very fine, balanced dance, is what it is.
So I've actually learned today that the leafcutter were introduced here. So although they're great for us, it makes me wonder if they played a part in the whole mites thing, because they are from Europe. Yeah.
It could be a fine balance, and like if I take the time to read and see if we know exactly where they came from, that's a possibility. But that's why we have invasive plants today. Yeah, noxious weeds today. We brought all that stuff in.
That's right.
And so it is very, very feasible that stuff came in on another species of bees.
Right.
Murder hornets. Everybody's going to worry about that for the next summer or 2 because they found it in Washington.
Right.
That's another import cause. Somehow we imported or did something where they came across, and that's we try to figure it out. That's a vector issue. I don't know. I'll have to read some more on it, but it's going to be tough for them to cross the Rockies,
Right. Yeah.
unless it's human brought over. So as long as the migration stays natural, they may have a barrier.
Well, and then I've been hearing that there are people that will go to different countries like because of weather, but they'll go in and they'll help with the pollinating other places. So even in that, it can possibly play a part.
Yep.
But one thing I didn't know, which I thought was really cool, I watched this awesome documentary today and I was just like, oh my God, this is so awesome. But it literally said that all bees originally were a form of wasp.
Yes.
And most people, and I think it's so important that people understand that, because when they're saying, oh, it's not the same, this is a wasp and this is, no, they're sisters, they are genetically the same being from millions of years ago.
And I don't think they're that many steps away
No.
today. Maybe 4, 5, 6 steps, maybe not even that far for some of them.
There's not even that far for some of them, because they showed this one and it definitely looks like it looked more like a dragonfly.
Yeah.
But it's a bee.
Their whole existence, I think, looking at the environment and how everything plays evolutionary wise, I think they were used to, or somewhere down that line, the pollen.
That's what it was.
The major thing that kicks in.
Yeah.
That's what changed, of course, for one type of wasp versus another new version of what a wasp family could be into bees.
It's funny. It reminds me of the human experience, because it's like, everybody originally started with 2 people or 1 woman, but then all of a sudden it splits off into these different characteristics,
It goes in so many different ways, and we're all the same.
That's right.
We just look different. And that's what they do. They're all the same things. Wasps have another goal in mind.
Yeah.
They do something entirely different, but they're all from the same family.
Exactly.
I think there's some wasps that are even beneficial to hives. Not so much over here, but in other areas they kind of work off each other.
Yeah, I did see that.
One does protection, one does cleaning, and the bees do all the work.
Exactly. So. Yeah, and it's pretty cool that they're so diverse, and yet I think it's important that people learn that one factor, because they did evolve, and the only real difference between them is one eats meat and the other one's organic.
Yep.
I mean, like vegetarian.
Yep.
Or vegan, let's call it vegan.
Pretty much vegan. I say vegetarian, there's no animal, anything goes into honeybees.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and that also plays back to the variants of bees that are used in different parts of the states.
That's right.
Here we have, a Russian variety that some folks like to use. The Russian variety is very popular in the South. Right. But are they good, strong bees for here? Not so much.
Right.
They're very docile. They don't work hard on propolis. They don't need that to seal up things and stuff, so they produce a lot of honey.
Right.
Here, our bees are set from, I'm trying to remember the kind they are. You're going to see a mix of Russian and, I'm blanking out right now. I'll come back to it. I'll remember it here in a minute. But that's why it's important, I would say, for beekeepers that are going to start out new, get local. Yeah. Because those bees, even though they may be used as agricultural commodities and run to California or elsewhere to pollinate the trees, when they come back here, they already have the genetics that have built up.
That's right.
And the folks are doing that in their apiaries too. Right. And it makes it easy too, because most local apiaries are going to have a fully organized nuke compared to a 3-pound box.
Right.
And a 3-pound box is usually put together with a vacuum, and they go in and beekeepers will vacuum up as many bees as they can from their holding facilities, and they may not be from the same hive or so. And so it takes them a time to kind of congeal and become a family. And then they introduce the queen, who hasn't been around any of them.
Wow.
And they place her in there. So that could take up to 3 days to a week if they do accept her. So you're always safer in buying an established nuke. That's the difference.
Right.
When you hear someone say established, the queen's accepted and they're ready to go. When you hear someone buy boxes or a candy is set up or a pound or two, they're just talking about bees they've collected and are going out.
Okay. All
So
right.
your acceptance rate and your ability to be successful for the first time is going to be better with that established queen, local bees, and the genetics are in there. So,
Wow.
mm-hmm.
And then your other one, which I hope you'll let me interview you another time. I really do, because there's so many things I want to ask you about, but I'm limited to how this works. But the other one that you said, so I've been thinking a lot about playing Mozart.
Yeah.
Okay, or Tchaikovsky. I'm like, I want to play music for them, so that, because humans are like that. It'll docile you out if you hear Mozart, you know.
Some people are they tend to be better people when they listen to their favorite style of music.
Yeah.
I think the same thing for bees. I mean, I've done it for years just because when I was growing up, people said you could play music in your greenhouse. Anything's going to be better than pavement paving or cars going down the road.
Right.
Anything that settles them in. And I had a neighbor over in Oregon that did the same thing. So on days that it was busy, she just left a radio sitting out there. It was a clock radio. So, she just played the local NPR station, which was mainly, classical music.
Yeah.
And, who's to say it doesn't help or does help? It's up to your environment.
Right.
Those are your bees. They take on your actions.
I was gonna say, don't they to me, they would take on some of your characteristics too,
They learn that you bring them things, even if they're only living to 6 weeks. All that interaction that you do with those bees passes down the line, so they know, like, I'm in a hive that gets interrupted, but when it interrupts our day-to-day thing, are we losing items, or are we being hurt, or are we getting supplements?
Right.
And there's no way anybody can tell me otherwise. Bees don't pick up on that.
Right.
Other animals have brains, other animals have operations. If it wasn't the case for bees to learn that, then they would attack us every time we tried to domesticate them.
Right.
And so they're domesticated. That's the best thing to let people know. They're domesticated.
Yeah.
And the better you treat a domesticated animal,
they're more loyal.
They're more loyal. So
yeah,
that's the way you have to look at it.
Yeah. So I have to say, I've not been nervous about this at all. But now I'm like, oh my God, it's getting close, And it's just the fact that I haven't done it before in a large group.
Yeah.
I've been around many bees, and when Chuck had gotten his bee, which I'm going to interview too, but when Chuck had gotten his bee hive last year, the year before, actually, it was the year before that, it was really good. I went over there, and I would go over there when he was doing his own thing. Yeah, because I love them, and I kind of feel like it didn't scare me or worry me, because I felt like your intention is going to be felt by them,
You can come over in an angry mood and be moving stuff around and not even realize the type of vibrations you're putting off.
Right.
When you take time to enter, like you'd want your house to be entered or something.
Right.
They pick up on that. So it's, I'm always aware a lot of vibrations bother them. The less and the quicker you get at going in and disrupting them, the better.
Yeah.
But they learn, about the only time I use protection, like a veil or something like that, is if I'm establishing a new nuke. Because you're going to upset them when you pull the frames out. Some people like to take the box and smack them and let them fall in.
It just seems so aggressive to me when I watch that.
It's super simple. If you just take the frames out, put them in your box, and have
let
some
them do it
lemongrass oil up there.
Yeah.
Set the box down. What remaining bees are left in there are going to migrate.
Right.
It doesn't take long. It may seem like it's taking long to some people, but an hour or two. they're all going to be used to saying, "Oh, we're not in here anymore. We're right here."
Right.
And so there's no reason, turn them over, pop them. That's just a human wanting to get in a hurry. So.
Every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, like it really makes me cringe because I'm like, I would be pissed if you did that to me.
Exactly. If you're coming in, instead of turning the doorknob to come in my house, you just decide to kick the door in.
Yeah.
You're already setting the precedence for, okay, what's going on here?
Exactly.
So that's, and some people probably throw that out of their mind. But
Right.
for me, if newbie beginners tried it, I think you're going to be more comfortable dealing with the bees because you're not setting them off in a frenzy right away.
That's right.
You're just putting them in there. You're already going to be afraid the first time reaching in your box and
exactly.
setting frames. But the more bees that stay on those frames and the less agitated they are, then you just leave the rest there.
Exactly.
And they pick it up.
Do they like peppermint?
There's peppermint. A lot of things that attract them. You can put peppermint in the water. I use to attract bees or to keep them happy. And when I put pollen patties in, so the rest of them that are working hard down bottom know where they're at. Lemongrass.
Lemongrass.
Like the oil.
The actual extracted oil?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the best thing. And you can put it, I use a top feeder instead of using the pollen stuff that they stir in. I boil sugar water. And a gallon should be what they hold on top there. It's a little plastic can that goes onto the board. And they have a hole in the board to crawl through and go up and get water out without dying. I squeeze lemongrass or put those droplets in there too because sugar doesn't have a signal that I know of that smells.
Right.
It may have to them, but if you always put something like lemongrass or peppermint, something that gives off a smell, that's what attracts them. So I stay away. The reason I don't use peppermint is because I use that out in the garden to distract certain animals.
And you don't want the two affiliated. Yeah.
So lemongrass is the best bet. You can get it at Walmart for like $6.
Okay.
And after you boil the